Hello everyone, welcome to Ciao, Padre, episode number 6. And this afternoon I have a very special guest. His name is Jake Rossi.
Yes.
Father Rossi, John Rossi is his brother. And Jake started to cook for me when I was at St. Peter's when he was in 8th grade. Can you imagine? He's always had a passion for food, and someday he will be a great chef and have a great restaurant. He already has the name for the restaurant.
Yep.
What is the name for the restaurant, Jake?
Zitto e Mangia.
Zitto e Mangia. Shut up and eat. Because it's going to be a restaurant that has no menu. Whatever they're serving that night, you come in, just like you would at home, and mommy or daddy would have whatever on the table, and you'd say, oh, what are you making? Shut up and eat. So that's a great, Jake, name for the restaurant. Thank you for coming this afternoon.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
We love having you. Let's look in the camera. Come over here. Now let's show them. We're going to tell them first what we're going to make today.
Yes.
Today we're going to make a very unique Sicilian dish that goes back centuries.
Yes.
Centuries. As I mentioned before, Sicily was dominated by many, many different cultures and peoples. It started with the Carthaginians on the western part of Sicily, the Phoenicians. Then you had the Greeks, then the Romans, and then you had the Arabs. They dominated Sicily for about 300 years. Each of these cultures brought something of who they were, and that was fused then with the Italian culture and Italian food. And this particular recipe, it's called couscous in Sicilian. Couscous, you may be familiar with it. And it is a fusion, let's say, of the Moroccan, Tunisian. Remember that Sicily is not very far from Morocco. And they had couscous, but they would make it with mostly vegetables. And couscous, let me show you, is a wheat grain. It's the forerunner of pasta. You see it right over here. Now, years ago, you didn't have instant couscous. I remember Grandma, when she made it, you took the couscous. It was not pre-cooked like it is now. And so you had to take the grain and roll it up with your fingers into little balls with olive oil and water. And then you put it into a couscusera, which, think of a colander that's flat on the bottom, but little holes. You put that into the pot. Underneath the pot is steaming hot water. You put the couscous in the couscusera. You wrap around it dough so that no air could escape from the pot. And that took about 2 hours to steam the couscous, to cook it. Today, thank God, we have the instant one. I don't think it's as good as what Grandma made, but it's a reasonable facsimile, let's say. So, Jake, why don't you tell us some of the ingredients that we're going to use in the couscous?
Okay. Well, it's very typical Sicilian. We have a lot of the same ordinary ingredients, like we have onion here, we have some garlic, we have fresh bay leaves. Usually you see them dried, but I was able to get some fresh ones. We got lemon, and then we have some ground almonds here. It's another one, but it's very big in Middle Eastern cuisine.
Blanched almonds.
Almonds. And then we crush them in a bag, so they're nice and fine. We have pepper. We have this beautiful salt from Trapani.
I brought this from Sicily, from my grandmother's town,
and
where they have the salt ponds.
This dish actually originates from the same area, so it's
It's on the western part of Sicily.
We have some parsley here, mussels, clams. We have lobster and some shrimp, and then we have what's this? Black bass.
Black bass. You see it?
That's it. Caught just this morning.
A porgy.
Nice porgy. And we have two red snappers.
Red snappers. You can see them, everybody? So this is to make the gyotta. What's the gyotta? The broth, the soup that is imbued with the fish and all these delicious ingredients.
Yes,
right, Jake?
of course. And then there's one very exotic ingredient here, which shows up in some Sicilian cuisine, sometimes Sardinia, Spanish
Spain also.
cuisine. Yeah, a lot of Middle Eastern cuisine too. This is actually saffron. And this is saffron from Iran. It's a little bit of a different strain than the stuff you can get in this country. I actually got to bring this back with me when I went to Egypt with my brother in October. So this is like the premium stuff. It's really good. It colors the dish and adds a very unique flavor to it as well.
Exactly.
And we also have these nice little peperoncinos from Calabria, which are a little hard to come by, but you can get them online too.
Yes.
But you could, if you don't have them,
And they're very hot.
you can use peperoncino, just
Yeah.
regular red pepper.
Red
flake.
pepper flakes
Yeah.
will do fine, yes. So these are the ingredients we're going to use.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to give you some of the quantities. So if you have a pencil and paper, you could write them down.
Of course.
Now we're doubling our recipe, but I'm going to give you the recipe that would be smaller because I'm going to share this with Jake and his family and the priest tonight and some others. So for the ingredients, you need a large onion finely sliced, 6 cloves of garlic rough chopped, parsley tied up because you're going to throw that into the soup, a half a cup of olive oil, 8 ounces of tomato sauce. We're going to use double because we're making more. A half a cup of white wine, dry white wine such as dry vermouth. A handful of blanched chopped almonds. You don't have to put that in if you don't like it. It's an option. A few threads of saffron, a few sprigs of parsley, a bay leaf, salt and pepper, and all the delicious fish. Now, what we have been doing is we took the fish heads.
Yep.
And Jake went fishing, so he brought some when you went fishing.
Yes, my father, my brother Devin, and me, we like to go fishing all the time. So we went out of this boat the one time, and we went up to Waretown. We caught all these striped bass, and the heads were nice and big. So usually what they do when they fillet them, they just throw them out, the fishing crew. So I said, can I have the heads? And they're like, you want the heads? What are you going to do with those?
Boy?
And I told them this dish, and they said, oh my gosh, that sounds good, so good. So I gave them the recipe too.
Oh,
so
very
it's
good,
a big
very
hit. So they're not going to waste it anymore.
Now, Dr. Phelps, if you could move over with the camera, my wonderful cinematographer, Dr. Michael Phelps, who's my music ministry director. He plays the organ magnificently. He's the producer, the cinematographer. He's all hands on deck. So over here, Doctor, we have now what we did with those fish heads. We just put them in hot water with a little bay leaf and parsley, salt and pepper, because this is going to be the essence, the beginning of the broth, of the gyotta. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to strain all this, because naturally we're not going to eat the heads, and there could be some bones or pins in there, so we're going to strain all that. You know what we need to get, Jake? Underneath there is the colander. We need to get the colander so we can drain the soup. And we're going to drain the soup into this Le Creuset pot, which, as you know, are my favorite pots.
Yep.
Every time I get a Christmas gift or Easter gift or something, I'll try to buy one if I can, because they're not cheap. But they're worth it because they'll last a long time. These are the kind of pots you could pass on to family or other people. That's how good they are. So we're gonna, you think this is ready, Jake?
Yes. So we've been cooking this for about 1 hour now. If you can cook it more, you could, even if you only have 30 minutes, you can do 30 minutes probably.
So
this adds a big amount of flavor to it, and it adds a lot of gelatin, which makes a better sauce in the end for the soup.
So let's take this, Jake. You're much younger than me. You can carry these heavy things, and I'll
Sure, no
bring the
problem.
light stuff.
Okay.
And Dr. Phelps, you can show that we're going to put these into the colander.
All right. Good.
Now I know you're probably thinking, oh, fish heads, how disgusting. But you know what? They really flavored the broth, the gyotta.
Big difference.
It's a big difference if you don't use them. I mean, you don't really have to. You could use just regular fish. But the problem if you use regular fish, it starts to break up. And then it's hard to serve. So this way you make the preliminary gyotta with the fish heads. You strain it because you don't want all the extraneous matter there, such as bones or whatever. And then we're going to take this.
Let's drink this off.
Want me to take this out?
Yeah.
And we're going to put it over here again.
I'll clean this out. We'll
And
use
now-
this for the final.
Yes,
part, right?
and now we're going to clean the pot out so we can saute the onions and the garlic. Now what am I going to do with the garlic? I'm going to make a rough chop. You don't mince it too fine, because if you do that, the garlic will tend to burn too quickly. So I give it a rough chop. And right now I doubled the recipe and I have 12 cloves of garlic, but when you make it, you could certainly make it with 6 cloves. It's enough. So we're going to give this a rough chop. You could put this in your, pulse it in your little ninja or chopper, but you don't want to make it into a paste. You want to just have a rough chop like I'm doing. Dr. Phelps, can you zoom in on here to show them the rough chop, what I mean by it? And also, let me tell you, let's say you're just 2 people. Well, certainly you don't need all this fish. I would recommend 1 fish and some shellfish, like shrimp or clams or mussels. You don't need to do all this. I'm doing it now for the sake of showing you what ingredients work well with this, and also because I can assure you this will all be eaten. Father Sayo, who was from Korea, when he looked at these fish and even the fish heads, went, he's so excited to have it, because Korea is in a peninsula and they eat a lot of fish, and so he loves fish. So he was thrilled. So Jake, is the pot clean?
Yes.
Is it ready for us to put the olive oil?
Mm-hmm.
Now you put about a half a cup of olive oil, of course, only extra virgin, please.
Mm-hmm. Makes a big difference.
It does make a big difference, and oil really makes a difference in these dishes, because as you know, Sicily has so many olive trees, and they're great at producing olive oil. Now, also, I want to show you how we're doing the onions, Doctor. The onions, we slice them in half moons, like you've seen me do other times, pretty thinly sliced. And we're going to put the onions in. Jake, you want to put the onions
Sure,
in?
of course.
And what else are we putting on it? Are we putting in the garlic yet?
Of course. Yeah.
Yes, the garlic. And that has to saute, because that is the important thing. It's like a roux, let's say, that's going to give a great flavor to the soup.
Yeah, what you want to do is build as much flavor as you can out of the aromatics. So you got to cook them all together and get all their sweetness out. It makes a much better final dish.
Is there anything else we put in here now? I think
We
the
could
hot
do a
pepper.
little. Don't go
Let me
too
check
crazy
our
with it.
recipe that we wrote down.
Mhm.
Red pepper flakes. Yes.
I'm just gonna. Should we just do one?
Just put a little. Yeah, just
little
a
one.
yeah.
Because everyone doesn't like it. You can always put it later.
Yeah, because not everybody likes the hot pepper. I like it, but not to an excess. Like some of the Mexican food, you can't even get it down your throat. And Indian food is the most spicy of all cuisines, Indian. If you eat some Indian food, Dr. Phelps is going to make us some kind of, what is it, Doctor?
Vindaloo.
Vindaloo. And he told me that I'm going to have to, they're going to have to tie me down, because I will be screaming from the hotness going down my throat. So, we're also making today a nice Sicilian salad that would go great with this. And also, Jake is going to make a coffee granita.
Yes.
Tell us about the granita.
The granita is actually something very, very Sicilian, and it goes back a long time. Even in Roman times, they were making this dish. Maybe not the exact one we're making today, but they could make it with lemon, they could make it with watermelon, any kind of fruit. We're going to use coffee today, and it's one of the simplest desserts you can imagine. Originally in Sicily, when they made this dish, they would actually they would get people to run up the hills of Mount Etna, which is the volcano there, harvest the snow, and then they would bring it down and they would add all different flavorings to it and different things like that. And actually, Emperor Nero, he was so crazy about granita, he actually used to get the quickest slaves that he could find to run up the Apennine Mountains so that they would run back and he could have it on demand anytime he wanted. He would mix it with honey and wine and all different things. So it goes back a long time.
There's your first sherbet. Where did it come from? Sicily, baby. Sicily has really... The reason why there's so many different things from Sicily, great cuisine, is because remember, it was an island. People who lived in the mountains did not receive what the ships brought. It was the local people on the island. The ships would come in. They would bring their treasures, spices from the Middle East, from different places. Eventually they would bring the tomato from the United States and so many other vegetables that were unheard of, like the eggplant. And what are those, Jake, you were saying?
The eggplant, the citrus fruit.
Citrus fruits.
Almonds, any kind of nuts.
So these things were brought on the
Saffron.
ships. And of course the first people that got them were the people from Marsala or Palermo on the western part of Sicily.
Yep.
Because Marsala, the Arabs called it Marshala, which means the port of Allah, the port of God. And was a great port. And even to this day, when I was in Sicily with our parish some months ago, my grandparents, their land was maybe a half a mile away from the Mediterranean. And you could see the ships coming in further down. And so they were the first to get all these ingredients. And because of that, and because of the mixture of cultures, they developed a wonderful, wonderful, especially aromatic cuisine. So that is why it is so unique. And this has a great flavor. Ultimately, what we're going to do, after we make la giotta, which has to cook for a while to get all those flavors fused together, then we place the fish in it. So you don't want to cook the fish forever in there because it'll all break apart.
Oh, yeah.
So we put it in for maybe, 20 minutes or half an hour or so?
No more than that.
And then we make the couscous.
Yep.
Now today, Jake, show them how, this is pretty much instant. How long does it take to cook, Jake?
They say about 5 minutes usually.
That's all. It's pre-cooked.
It's very nice to have.
And you cook that, and then you put it in a big bowl. You drain it. Well, you don't drain it because it reduces.
No, it soaks it all up.
It's like rice, kind of. It soaks up all the water.
But this is 1-to-1 rather than 2-to-1 you would have for rice because it's already cooked, like you said.
Right. So you put 1 cup of
equal
couscous,
parts.
so 1 cup of water.
Exactly.
And you get a big bowl and you pour that in, all that couscous, mix it all up. And then, la pièce de la résistance, you take the giotta and with the ladle start pouring it over the couscous. And what happens? The couscous is like a sponge. It absorbs those succulent flavors. And you eat it like you would eat, let's say, polenta or rice. But only it has a fabulous, fabulous flavor. And then, of course, then you serve your mussels and shrimp and the fish on a side plate, and you eat that along with your couscous. And what I'm going to do later is I will put on Facebook the finished product, so to speak. I'll take pictures, and we will show you the finished product. So don't get scared what you see. Think, oh, how difficult. You don't need all of these fish and all. Simply, let's say, a shellfish like a shrimp, right?
Yeah, anything.
Or clams. Mm-hmm. And maybe a piece of fish that you like. It has to be a firm fish like grouper, cod, snapper, sea bass, right?
Yeah,
Jay?
of course.
And so it doesn't break all apart. You would never use flounder for this.
No.
It would break in a million pieces.
Yeah, it's too fine.
It's too fine.
But it's nice because it's like a fisherman's stew, so you can really mix it up any way you want. If you don't have mussels and clams, just throw in shrimp. If you don't have black bass or something, you can maybe use a cod, anything like that. So it's very versatile.
It's very
and
versatile,
You can use
yes.
it. It's great for fishermen, like
That's
I said,
right,
because you got
that's
the heads, you do that,
right.
and then anything
And you
else.
know, this is basically the first bouillabaisse. The French
Mhm.
think what they made,
Yeah.
bouillabaisse.
Similar
We
ingredients.
had it way before them.
Yep.
And of course, like I mentioned before, Catherine de Medici, she brought all this to the French courts when she married King Henry of France.
Yep.
And
even
she had her own cook she brought. She didn't want those French cooks.
Yep.
She brought her Italian cooks. And they made King Henry's head spin with the food she had prepared for him. And so this is the origins. This recipe has to go back,
At least 1,000
at least
years or more.
1,000 years.
Yep.
And again, remember what I said? You don't mess with recipes that have been tried and true tested.
Yep.
You don't try to add stuff that doesn't belong. That's why I'm against this cuisine where they put pineapples on fish,
No.
or they'll put,
Doesn't
crazy
go.
things that don't go, right?
No.
It doesn't go. Doesn't go. See, Jake was talking to me from when he was in 8th grade. It doesn't go.
Exactly.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
So, in regard to this, it is a wonderful recipe, and it's especially a good Lenten meal.
Yes.
And for those of you that like fish, this is very unique because that couscous has such a delicious flavor. And that's why it takes a while to prepare it. As you can see, how are those onions doing?
They're getting there. They're starting to soften
Dr.
up.
Phelps, you want to show what they look like there?
They're still a little bit firm, but they're starting to slowly collapse, which is what we want. We want them to get a little bit golden. That's where it's going to start to caramelize the sugar, but you don't want to get them brown. Because if they get them brown, they're going to take on a different flavor. We
Bitter.
don't want that. It might get bitter. It might just be too toasty. It's not going to work with the fish, which is mild. So that's looking very nice so far. Maybe 2 to 3 more minutes on those, I think.
Okay, and then what are we going to do here? We're going to
gonna
add
Make,
tomato-
like you say, almost make like a roux.
like a
With
tomato,
the tomato sauce.
can.
Cook it down.
Let me show them the tomato cans. This is simply tomato sauce.
Yep.
I like Hunt's, but any of them, Tutto Rosso are good,
They
but
all work good.
and they all work good. Is right.
It's better than the tomato paste because the tomato paste can get a little too bitter.
Right.
So this is like a little bit sweeter. You might have to cook it down a little bit more, but it makes a much better product.
It does. It does. It does. And so then we will add to the onion and the garlic mixture there. We will add the tomato sauce. We will add the salt and pepper. We will add the blanched almonds
Yes.
and the saffron. Are we going to put the saffron in water?
Yes, that's the best way to get
You
the
need
color
to
come
get the
out.
color.
So
And we'll throw this parsley.
Yeah.
When we put the water in,
Mhm.
we'll throw the
that in as
parsley.
well.
Because we're going to take this water
Just
from the gyotta and put it into this pot.
How's it coming? You think another minute or so?
I would say another minute because we
Yeah, you
want
wanna
it to
get a
get.
nice-
We want those onions to permeate throughout, and they've heard me say, my watchers of Ciao Padre, how the man used to cook the onions and garlic at the restaurant, open the window, and people would die for that smell. And they came in and they ate, and they made good business.
I used to do the same thing on Saturdays. It would bring people to the mass.
Oh, at
because they
St.
could
Peter's.
smell it right out the window.
Yes, we had a 5 o'clock mass, and Jake would be cooking, and he'd open all the windows, and the people would come in church and say, "Father, what are you cooking in there?" And of course, these smells were aromatic, and
Yeah.
your taste buds were singeing.
Yep.
They wanted that right away. So, next thing, Jake, why don't we? Should we work on the salad, or you want to work on the granita?
The granita is very simple, so it should only take a few more minutes on these. I think we should try that.
The
Because
granita.
It's very.
Okay, Jake is making dessert tonight, the granita, which is a very famous Sicilian dessert. Where you get today's Italian ice, when you go to the stand, the Italian lemon ice, remember all that? That's all from Sicily.
Yep. Great thing about it, you really don't need much. You don't need an ice cream maker. And this one is actually my favorite because who doesn't have leftover coffee on hand? I make espresso every morning. I always have a little extra because it's just me drinking it. So you save it up in the fridge, and then when you got about 3 cups worth, you can make this. So all it is coffee, leftover. If it's still warm, that's good because it'll melt the sugar, but it's not completely necessary. And then you're going to do about a half a cup of sugar. And the key thing here is the ratio. So what you want is about 1/6 sugar to 6 parts liquid. So you could do this with, like, if you had watermelon and you pureed it, you could do the same thing. If you had lemon juice, you could dilute it with a little water, or even just lemonade.
That would be fabulous.
Perfect.
Yeah. Lemon granita, watermelon. Oh, the
Watermelon's
granita.
excellent, especially this time of year.
Would like that.
So this is all you really need for this. You just need sugar and a liquid. But to make it a little extra special, I always add a little bit of lemon zest. And this is really good because if you ever had coffee in an Italian restaurant or something, they usually give you a lemon peel with it, and they call it a Romano. And I think it kind of cuts the bitterness and it brings out an extra sweetness to the coffee. It has a whole new dimension of flavor. So you just add about a teaspoon, and that'll change up the whole dimension of this.
That's right.
Dessert. So you just stir it just until it's basically dissolved. Doesn't have to be completely dissolved because once it freezes, you're not going to even notice it yet. And then what we have to do is
You want me to get the?
yeah, we're going to we put a dish in the freezer. So you could do either a metal roasting pan, has to be very clean, or you could do a glass dish, usually something in the 13 by 9 inch range.
A nice glass pan like this.
This is perfect.
Which we had in the freezer cooling down.
And the wider you have it, the quicker this will set up. So all you got to do is you just pour this up about halfway or so. Make sure you get some of that sugar out. Now, what does the sugar do? The sugar helps it from freezing like a rock, basically. It'll get in between the ice crystals, and that's what makes this dish like.
And the ice will be like frothy almost.
Yeah.
It won't be a solid like an ice cube, right?
Exactly. So now what you do is you take this, you return it to the freezer, and then once it's in the freezer, you come back every half hour with a fork, and you just kind of break it up. And that's it. After about 4 hours, it'll be completely
So you have
light.
to come back how many times? Every half hour?
Well, when you're quarantined, you have plenty of time to do this because you're at home anyway, and you got leftover coffee.
So you say, go ahead, honey, go stir the granita.
Every episode of a show you watch, at the end, when the commercial comes, you go out, you break it down,
With
come
the fork.
back.
Let's
And
put
then
it
for
in,
dessert,
Jake. I'll open the freezer for you. That's going to be delicious for our dessert tonight. Is it?
It's okay if it's slanting a little bit. You just don't want it to drip.
Okay, it's in the freezer.
And now, I mean, how much more simple could you get for dessert?
Excuse me.
It's perfect.
So now we're going back. I think, Jake, this is ready. Look.
Good?
Yeah.
Getting nice. Okay.
Nice. So, put your tomato in.
Turn up the heat a little.
We want to turn up the heat so when we put the vermouth, the wine in there, the dry wine, it'll boil out the alcoholic content. Correct, Jake?
That is correct.
A half a cup or a cup since we made
A cup, yeah. But I always put it in the tomato can to make sure you're
all the extra tomato
out,
comes
yeah.
out. Yes.
And this is a very important step, because what's actually happening here is you're caramelizing any bitterness that would be in the tomato. So this is going to make it sweet without adding sugar to it. When you fry it at a high temperature, it makes a much better, sweeter sauce at the end.
Thank you, Doctor. You're very good, Jake. You never disappoint me.
So should we
Jake and I used to have so much fun cooking different recipes, and it was always great fun. And he's a wonderful young man. So proud of him, and I hope he has his dream come true.
Thank you.
We have to make sure there's no more pandemics because we want the
that was
restaurant
right.
to be open.
Yeah.
And I told them when I retire, I'm going to go become a part-time chef Or when I want to make something special,
Yeah.
I'll come.
Be a guest chef.
A guest chef like you are today. So, I'm going to stir this. You have to watch this because if you don't want it to burn. Remember what I say. If tomato burns, you can throw the whole pot out.
Yep.
Did you put the wine in yet? No.
No.
You can put it in now.
good
It's
now?
boiling up. Yes.
All right.
So normally a half a cup, but since we've doubled the recipe, we're putting 1 cup. And see, by keeping it on a high flame, it will boil up the tomato and the wine will begin to evaporate the alcohol. Otherwise, you have too much of a winey taste,
Yeah.
right?
The alcohol won't cook out if you don't boil it.
That's it, and you don't want that.
No.
You know, that's very important. Like, sometimes people, when they make sauce, while the sauce is cooking, they'll throw the wine in. And that's not how you do
It's
it.
not the same.
Because, first of all, if you use red wine, it turns the sauce a horrible color.
Yeah, it makes it like brownish.
Right.
sometimes, Yeah.
And secondly, the wine should be added in the beginning when you're sauteing.
Yep.
So the alcoholic content goes.
Mhm.
And it doesn't taste like you're eating tomato wine.
Yeah.
Right?
And the tomato is alcohol soluble. So when you add the wine to it, it actually pulls out more flavors that you couldn't get if you didn't add the wine. So it's very important to add it to the tomato sauce like that.
What is our next ingredients? Okay.
Well, we're going to put the saffron, we're going to put the stock, and we can put the almonds in
Yeah.
if you'd like.
Yeah, let's put
Should we put the
and some black pepper.
Yeah.
We don't need. Do we need a little black?
Yeah, a little
pepper?
black pepper always.
I always like to grind my black pepper down and put it in a cup. So you just go like this. See?
Much more convenient.
Much more convenient when you're cooking.
And I'd say, how much almonds? You said it's about
The
3/4.
almonds, I think we said. What did we do?
I don't know. I put handful. I think in the recipe.
It's
I'd say it's about 3/4.
a handful. So a handful.
Okay.
Are we going to put our salt in now? Or wait?
Should we put those? We could add the salt.
Yeah.
Sure. Maybe how much you
We have to
thinking?
be careful.
Yeah, because
now
there's
this is
salt in the
wonderful. You see it right from the Mediterranean. It's a wonderful process when you see them making this. They even use. I was shocked when I first went to Sicily and saw windmills. I thought only Holland had windmills, and I'm saying to myself, what are they doing with these windmills here? But you see, the windmills help to dry the salt because they put the salt in mounds, and the windmills help to dry it, and as well as help to crush the salt between the stones.
Do you have a small cup, Father, so I can bloom the saffron?
I will get it for you.
Thank you. I'll keep stirring this.
Here we go. We could use one of these, you know?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
we can do that. I'm thinking 2 nice, good-sized pinches at least, right?
How much?
2 big pinches.
2 pinches of saffron. Now, the saffron is the stamen, isn't it, of
Yes,
the
of the crocus.
plant. Isn't that amazing?
And you
Go
can
ahead.
see when you add a little, look at just a little bit of moisture that's already in there, it's already turning it yellow.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is you bloom this almost like you would bloom a tea. So you put a little hot water and that'll pull out the color. So when in the final dish, you'll color it even more.
It
and
colors
have
the
more flavor.
dish, yeah.
So I'm just gonna add a little hot tap.
John, this is getting real thick now. I mean, Jake, so what are we going to do now? We're going to
You
add
can add the stock, right?
our stock
And then the parsley.
and then the parsley. So now I'm going to pour in the stock, the biotta, the pesce, and now pour in the stock. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at the color. Look at the color. And wait till Jake puts the saffron in. Look at that. Now we're going to put it on our high flame so it boils up again.
Okay.
And we're going to put in this parsley. I've just wrapped it with some cooking twine, and we're going to put that in. See, parsley and fish are like soup and sandwich. Most fish dishes you use parsley, not basil. You use parsley. Am I
Yeah,
right, Jake?
of course.
It does something to the flavor. It takes some of that fishiness away too.
Yeah, it does.
It's like when you know you have handled garlic, right? Or you ate a lot of garlic. the best thing is the chlorophyll in the parsley
Yep.
to chew on it, and it mitigates the garlicky hands and the garlicky flavor. In fact, I've even seen soap, parsley soap, imagine, so that you can get the garlic off your hands or the onion. And that's what it does with the, in this, it mitigates, so it's not so fishy that you can't eat it.
And you
Just the right amount to make it perfectly palatable.
Yes.
Is that the word, Jake?
Palatable.
Now Jake is putting
This
in
is-
the saffron.
This has only
Notice the
been
color.
1 minute, and it's already pulled that much flavor and color out
Color.
of it. So we're going to pour
It's a
this
very unique flavor it has.
in. And just wash this out just to get all
Yeah, of course. If you could be here and smell this, you would die.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's no dish like it.
delicious, Jake. I don't know, we'll have to check for salt because I'm not sure, because the
Yeah.
fish is salty too.
Did we add the bay leaf? That's another
No,
thing.
put the bay
We
leaf,
got 2 here.
put them in.
So these are fresh, but you can
That's
use dried
another
as well.
Arabic thing,
Yes.
using the bay leaf, laurel.
Yes.
Lauro, we say in Italian.
Mhm.
The bay leaf, that's another. Remember I used it when I made the spadini, the veal roulettes.
Yep.
It's a very subtle flavor.
Yep.
They say you
Very,
don't have to put it. Yeah, you don't have to, but when you put it, it adds another, as Jake said, dimension to
Yep.
the food.
You're like building a house when you're building this. You have to have
Exactly.
a solid foundation, and then you got to have your levels, and then like the saffron, you got to have decoration, something to make it look nice. You know what I mean?
That's right. You know, when I was at St. Peter's with Jake as the cook, I would give him all kinds of challenges.
Oh yeah.
Jake, how about making this? And I'd show him something in a cookbook, like when you made the sfingi with the ricotta, the
Oh, yeah.
cappaduzza.
Oh, cappaduzza.
The
Yeah, that's a good
cappaduzza.
one, yeah.
He made the lard bread.
Mhm.
That's the Neapolitan, the lard bread, and he just made and brought me a loaf.
Yes.
I can't wait to devour some of it. That's a Neapolitan thing. See, my father's side, they're more of that vein. He's part Neapolitan and part Abruzzese, Molise.
Yeah.
So he introduced us to that stuff on my father's side. This bread that's made, how is it made, Jake?
Well, it's traditionally made when they used to render for lard, the pigs and everything. So you have any scraps of pancetta or ends of prosciutto, you put them all in a pot, you cover them with water, and you simmer them down. And then by simmering it, that releases the fat. And then once the fat is released, it starts to fry the meat. So usually they would keep the fat and they would use it in baking or cooking, whatever they wanted to store meats, anything like that. And then the leftover cracklings, they wouldn't throw them out. They would make them into this bread. So they would just fold them in, and it adds a whole different aroma and flavor.
And the
There's
black
nothing
pepper
like it.
they put in.
Tons of black pepper to
Oh,
balance it.
it's to die for.
excellent bread.
Of course, I don't know how good it is for our cholesterol, but
Actually, they're trying to change in the minds about it because they're saying animal fats are more natural for the system than a lot of these vegetable oils that they tell you so.
all
healthy.
false.
Yep, they changed the whole idea on it.
All false products, yeah.
Yep.
That's why so many people have cancer today.
Yeah,
God knows
that's what
what we're eating. That's why
That's when it all
it
started.
pays to make your own food in the house. Yes, we like to go out, fine. If you go to a good restaurant, you'll get good food. But these processed products that you buy, these TV dinners,
No.
the pre-made,
Natural.
mac and cheese, even the pancake, all the chemicals.
If you can't say it, you shouldn't be eating it.
That's right.
That's
So
what it is.
the best way to keep your health is cook good home cooked meals.
Traditional.
It's true.
And you should eat the food of your culture, I feel like this Sicilian,
Yes.
it's traditional to your family,
Yes.
and it's very good for you, I feel like, because you got to preserve your culture.
That's right. Well, it's like they say,
Brings
the
you back.
Mediterranean diet. They used
Yeah.
to condemn the Italians. Reed's
Mhm.
balls, wops, what are
Yeah.
they eating? And now they all want the Mediterranean diet because why? There's lots of veggies.
Mhm.
You have protein with fish and pasta and beans.
Yeah.
And not so much meat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the most delicious desserts too. Only usually on the holidays, by the way.
Yeah.
I remember growing up and I would say, Mommy, how come we're not having dessert? Oh, she said, Anthony, we have dessert. What? Fresh fruit. I said, but across the street, Mrs. O'Doyle, they have delicious lemon cake, or they have chocolate cake. Well, Mommy said, that's what the Americans do. We make it our way. We'll have these delicious desserts on Christmas and Easter. Aunt Sadie will bring over the gannola. She'll bring the sfogliadelli. She'll bring then Grandma used to make the Easter pie with the grain and the ricotta, and so on and so forth. And as we get to the holidays, Jake, we have to do the fig cookies. Gocciolate di figo. Oh, to die for.
Very, very interesting. Just like this recipe, steeped in tradition in Sicily. The cookie probably goes back to the Middle Ages.
That's
with
right.
The spices.
The recipe, yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So, what I'm going to do, one last thing, we're going to make the salad. When are we going to put these in? Not yet?
No, I think they should at least come to a simmer.
Well, wait, let it come to a boil.
Yeah.
Let's make our salad now.
Okay.
Where's our salad bowl, Jake?
Oh, I put it in the fridge.
Can you move us over here, Doctor? Dr. Phelps? When the good doctor took this job as music director, he had no idea what he was getting into. Being a cameraman, cinematographer, producer, director of the Mass with the the GoPro camera. Okay, so now we're going to make a typically Sicilian salad. And what we're going to do is, I'm going to bring some of the ingredients over here. Olives, green and black. A little provolone. Red onion. And tomatoes. And lemons. So our dressing is going to be a lemon and olive oil dressing, which, as naturally speaking, there were lots of lemons that grew in Sicily. In fact, their lemons are big. And they would make lemon salads. They would use lemon a lot in their food. And they would make lemon dressing. Instead of vinegar for a change, they would try the lemon. Jake, why don't you cut this and you'll squeeze the lemons in this for us? Do you think one lemon is enough?
Maybe 1.5, I think.
Yeah.
At least half a lemon per head.
Okay, and I'm putting some of these olives in, black olives, and some green olives. And my hands are clean, and so are Jake's. And I'm going to cut the onion. And you know what I do to the red onion to take the agita out, to take all that bitterness? You know, I put it in the dish with the warm water and salt. And you'll be surprised. You do that, you're not going to have any indigestion. Keep it in the water. If you can keep it in 15 minutes, that's good. It's better even. So you want to put salt. Where's the salt? Here. Oh. Put some of that in. And then some warm water, a little more. And then we'll put these babies in there. And you keep them in, you know, depending, if you really get agita a lot, keep them in longer, 15 minutes. But usually 5 or 10 minutes is sufficient. And you put them in this way down. Huh? Mm-hmm. And you put them in. And now we're going to, Jake is making the dressing. Jake, we're going to put olive oil. What would you say the amount of olive oil we're going to put?
Well,
half a cup or a quarter of a cup?
Well, we have about, how much would you say, 3 tablespoons?
Yeah, 3 or 4
Yeah, about half a cup. It all depends on what you like. If you
what you like.
Vinegar,
If you like it more lemony or more vinegary, you
sour.
put less oil. If you like it early, you put more Earl. Jake is laughing because I'm saying Earl. That's how my mother said
all
it.
these Brooklynisms.
That's Brooklynite.
Yep.
Some of you in our parish are from there, so you know. Even the bishop was from the Bronx. Used to kid around when he first came to the diocese, and he would say, "The only priest I understand in our diocese is Father Anthony." And everybody used to laugh because he was a New Yorker. He is a New Yorker like I am. But I love South Jersey. I wouldn't live back in New York for nothing. I love it down here. I've been down here 48 years, because don't forget I went to the seminary in Philadelphia 4 years. And I'm a priest 44 plus 4. It's 48 years, kiddo. Okay, so then Jake is mixing the oil with the lemon juice And we're going to add some nice crushed black pepper. That goes very good with I like a lot of black pepper.
Pinch of salt too?
It goes very good with the lemon dressing. And you need salt too.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's that delicious Sicilian salt that I lugged home. It was like about 10 pounds. It was in a chunk. And me and Claudia bought it together, and she said, when we get home, we'll split it. Well, it's been in here since. Now we'll have to give some to Claudia. I haven't forgotten her. Mm-hmm. And do you think we should add a little provolone?
Yeah, I think so. Do you have like a vegetable peeler?
Yeah, here, take the provolone, and I'll get you this. Is good for that. Here. How about this, Jake? No. Vegetable peeler.
Just like a hand peeler. Like a,
Here.
That's what I like, yeah.
I never tried it with that.
What are you going to say? You learned something?
I'm going to learn from Jake now.
I learned so many things from you, and I learned from there. Makes these nice shaves.
Yeah, look at that.
They're a little bit irregular, but that's kind of nice because you get a nice bite of cheese. If you grated it, it wouldn't be the same.
No.
It would just kind of fall into the dressing.
Yeah. You think we should put a little oregano in this?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Sicilian oregano. You should have seen me when I was in Sicily in the big market carrying oregano. When I got to the people in the pot, they thought it was a bouquet of flowers.
See, now this is interesting because you're looking at both sides of Sicily here. This is almost like Greek in the sense it has the olives, it has the oregano.
That's right. And so we have that Greek influence as well.
Yeah.
See? A little oregano. And I never buy the one in the bottle, only if I actually have to. I buy the one that's on the branches of the... That enough, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
And the aroma, you can't beat it. And now we have... I want to give you the... What did she do with that, sister? Oh,
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the, here it is.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
So, another important thing is mixing the salad. Jake, should we put it in now since we're going to eat a little later?
We could toss maybe half of it just to marinate it, and then the rest we'll throw on before we eat it. Because otherwise it might...
True. Unless
Yeah.
we put it in the fridge.
Okay, we could do that. Yeah.
Let's put it
Let's
in.
add it in then.
And then we'll stir it up. And we'll put it in the fridge so it doesn't droop.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're going to eat in about maybe, what, an hour or so?
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to resist. We still have to cook the couscous, but that cooks very quickly.
We could do that next if you'd like. Or do you want to?
Yes, we can do it.
Because that's going to be reheated by the broth anyway.
Right, that's right. Absolutely. Why don't you show them how to make the couscous?
Sure. Should I do it in this pot, you think?
You may as well. Why dirty more?
Okay. Let me just dry it out a little.
We dirty as least pots as possible, right? And dishes too. Why make it more difficult, right? Now look at this beautiful salad. Dr. Phelps, put the camera here so they can see how lovely this salad looks. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, the smells are enough to die for. You know, God is so good to us. He gave us taste buds. And thank God that you gave them to us, dear Lord, because, you know, often in life, there is so much hardship, so many problems. And if you like to eat, there's nothing more wonderful sitting down with family, or even alone, and having a delicious meal. So when you do that, you say, you know what? It was worth me taking all the time that I needed. You better stir that, Jake. All the time that I needed to make this dish because it's just so delicious. So food has a very important place in our lives. People that dismiss food and are always eating junk food, they have missed out on so much. People that are very picky, I don't eat this, I don't eat that. They're down to like eating 3 things. I have a cousin like that. All she wants to eat is chicken with a little lemon spray sprinkled on it, and bagel in the morning with an egg all day long. That's all she wants. And her poor daughter tries to make all different nice dishes. I don't want it. I don't want it. And there are a lot of people like that. They don't broaden their horizons. They don't want to try different food. And they're really limiting themselves. It's also a reflection of who they are. They're very narrow-minded people. They have blindfolders. They don't open up their hearts to different things, even in life. So it's important that one try different food. That's why God gave them to us. He gave us so many vegetables, so many fish, so much meat to try it all. Remember what he said to Adam and Eve. I give all of this to you. You have dominion over all of this. And that's exactly what we do when we create. Because every meal is a creation. Every meal is a work of art. It's like doing a painting, isn't it, Jake?
It definitely is.
You prepare your mind. What am I going to put in this? How does this seem if I put that in it? How long we're going to cook it? Who we're going to serve it to?
Yep.
All those things. It's like creating a masterpiece, an art form.
And it's the only art where you have all the 5 senses.
Tell me.
So it's the only one where you can taste actually the masterpiece that you made, the smells. I was just thinking about the other day with my, I made the, what's it called? My mother made pasta.
Right.
And it just reminded me of Sunday mornings when I would wake up and she'd already had the sauce cooked and everything. It was like, oh my gosh. Sense memory is more, what's it called? It's more...
Sticks to you more?
It sticks to you more than actual what you see and what you can actually remember.
Because you're using all your senses.
Exactly. So you hear the pots and pans, everything about it, the way it tastes, the way it looks, everything hits your brain in a different way.
That's right.
So it's very unique.
Now, Jake, are we going to let this cook down a little bit more?
Yes, I think another 5 minutes maybe. Just make the couscous and then when that's done.
If you were here to smell this fabulous ghiotta, G-H-I-O-T-T-O, ghiotta. It's just wonderful. And so we have our salad. Jake made that wonderful granita, which I can't wait to try.
Very good.
Dr. Phelps, are you going to have some of that granita?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And we're going to have this wonderful fish. Father Sayo, Grandma had an expression that when you ate something and you liked it, she says, "Si fai vecchio vecchio," which means, translated means you're going to get real old quick. I don't know what that exactly means, but it was a cute expression, "Si fai vecchio vecchio." I guess you become more wise as you get old, so the more you eat, the wiser you're going to get.
I like the one your grandfather, he used to say, "A la chic."
Oh yeah, Grandpa. He used to say, when he ate a good meal, he'd go, "A la chic," because it's an old expression called Sicily. Remember, they were the sheiks there from the Arabs. And he would go, "A la chic," when he ate something delicious. And the other thing, the funny thing is, of course, they hated the Arabs that were there, that dominated the Sicilian people. So they had all different ways of making fun. So they started to call the jackass the sheik, lo scecco. In Italian, sheik is scecco, lo scecco. So they said the jackass, compared him to the sheiks, lo scecco. That's in other words. The real word is asinello, you know, mula, asinello. But scecco is sheik, and they would use that word in Sicily to make fun of the sheiks that dominated the Sicilian people. And of course, it wasn't until the Normans came in about the year 1000 from northern France that came down and drove the Muslims out of Sicily and restored our Holy Catholic faith there. As a matter of fact, I was in a beautiful church built by the Normans in the year 1000 in Palermo. The walls were like, oh my gosh, they was so thick, because that was they didn't have the concept of flying buttresses or beams or everything. To make the building stand, they had to keep building it thicker and thicker walls. And I was there for Mass, and it was beautiful. So, lo scecco. Now, Mike, what are we doing? We're cooking the couscous.
Yeah,
How
just
many
have to
cups
cook
of
the
water did you put?
I actually did 6 because it kind of looked a little skimpy. So six
cups.
cups of water, and then what I'm going to do is, just to make it, you don't have to do this, but it makes it a little more aromatic. You add a little slice of lemon zest, and then 2 bay leaves. And this will give it like almost like a perfume to the couscous. It'll add a whole nother dimension. I'll throw that in, and then salt too is very important. So,
Yes.
how much do you think, maybe?
I'm not used to with this salt since I just
Yeah,
got it out of where I had it.
I think maybe.
I gave it to Jesse so he could chop it up for me. It's been in the shed all this time. Or as the lady in Sicily called the shed, usceddo.
I'd say probably like 2 teaspoons.
Yeah.
So do that, and then
Usceddo.
another one.
Okay. It's like rock salt.
Yeah.
We could pound it more, but it's fine.
If you're using it like this, it's all right because it's going to dissolve.
Yes.
But it adds a unique flavor.
So are there any questions, Dr. Phelps? Anybody have questions? If you have any questions, you can put them on the Facebook and Dr. Phelps will transmit them to us. By the way, Dr. Phelps is now, another one of his jobs he's doing, he's planting, you know, he's from a farming family in Illinois, in the southern part of Illinois, and he and his father and family, they had, how many cows? 600 cows?
Well, when I was younger, yeah.
When he was a young boy. So he learned a lot about farming too. So he's creating a garden for us with all kinds of tomatoes, cabbage, artichokes, string beans, cantaloupe, watermelon, what else? Zucchini, Swiss chard, romaine lettuce, many, many things. And of course my herbs I'm going to keep near the house. But Michael is going to go by the solar panels, and I'll have to put a little fence there because the deer will make hay while the sun shines, because we have a herd of deer back in there. And if you come here to the parish around 4 o'clock in the morning, you'll see them trying to eat my hostas, trying to eat everything, but we have the repellent around now. Last year they ate every peach on my peach tree except one, but they're not going to get them this year. Not going to get them this year. So, we're going to have our own garden, and I said to Dr. Phelps, I said, if we get enough, we could start selling it after Mass. We could have our own organic vegetables and fruits and herbs. So that's another one of the jobs he's taken on. He's very generous with his time, and I know that you will appreciate that for the good of our parish. And this yotta's boiling now. Even the color is pretty. Now what?
We can turn the couscous in because the water's boiling for this.
Okay.
And
So
then
we're putting the couscous, and you're going to put it here. I'll hold it for you. I'll hold it. I'll
Yeah.
hold it.
the key
We're
thing,
putting how many cups?
we're going to do 6 because
Six
we did 6
cups.
cups of water, 6 cups of couscous.
6 cups of couscous.
And the key thing, you want to turn the heat down to low when you do it because you don't want it to stick to the bottom because this is just going to steam basically. As
Okay.
long as,
So you turn it down low when you're putting it in. 3, 4.
and I got this other one here.
Open the other one. Yeah. 4, 4.
It's 5,
5.
and then here's 6.
We're going to be able to
We're
feed all
finishing.
of. We're going to be able to feed all of Northfield tonight.
Yeah,
Okay.
invite them over. If it wasn't quarantine, we would.
Right. If it wasn't in quarantine, you want me to stir it?
Yes. And you can add just a touch of olive oil to that. too.
Yes, so it doesn't
Because
stick.
that'll make it
Dr.
nice.
Phelps, why don't you come over here and you can see what this looks like? Can you reach it here? You want me to? You want to
I
put
got
the? Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
just a drop
Okay.
and just stir it in. And then cover it up tight, and then about 5 minutes or so, it should soak all that up.
Yeah. I think it's already soaked.
Yeah. Looks good. Just cover and then let the steam finish.
And then we leave it on low flame.
You can just turn it off and just leave it on the
See how simple it is? You know what it reminds me of? That Success rice.
Yeah.
You know, those little pouches of rice, and it's not half bad. Mommy used to use it. You put it in for like, what is it, 6 minutes or something?
Yeah,
You
something
take
like
it
that.
out of the patch and you got your rice.
Yeah.
But this, it's just going to
Yeah, it's just going to steam through.
steam through.
Because
cook.
it's already cooked, it just needs to rehydrate, basically.
This is basically semolina. This is basically your first pasta.
Mhm.
Before pasta was pasta, we had it here. But I was reading how in Sicily they had pasta in the 9th century.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, even the Romans had pasta, but they made it with barley flour.
Right.
And they made sheets. Yeah. They call it lasagna.
Yeah,
And it was these
lasagna.
long strips, and that's
Imagine.
where we get lasagna.
This
from.
is why Italian food is so ancient.
Mhm.
Because there's such a history that goes back thousands of years. Look at little Raspberry. She would like a bowl of couscous and a whole fish. Of course, I can't give her any fish because the pins, as Mommy called them, would choke her. So I'm going to put all of this on the... Are we going to put these in yet or should we wait?
Yeah, we could put them in. Let's cut them. We're going to cut them a little?
Yes,
or-
we're going to cut them in
the
pieces.
pieces.
Let me wash my hands. I petted her. We want you to know that we're very clean here.
I could chop it if you'd like to. Just
Okay.
let me know how big you want it.
Well, you know, I'll leave it to you. And social distancing for us, we're like family.
Yeah, this
All
is
of
like
us
another
here.
uncle.
Yeah, all of us here. And Father Rossi's in the other room doing some work. He's here from his parish. He's pastor at St. Bridget's in Glassboro. Do you need something harder to...
Yeah, just to get through the spine. There's a little. That works. Right.
You want a serrated knife, maybe?
That's working.
That's a big fish. That's
Yeah,
why.
it is. This is pretty big for a black bass. I was saying earlier that ones we catch, they put up a good fight, but they're not sometimes not even this big.
So that way it's going to be easy for us to eat. We just take a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Each of us take a piece or
And
whatever.
what did you do with the mussels and the clams, Father? Did you just wash them or
Yeah,
just soak
just
them?
wash them.
Okay.
I washed them. I hope there's no dirt on them. Maybe I better look at the clams. Huh? Well, they told me that these the mussels were domestic, so they're not probably that dirty.
Yeah. It's very important that you know where your fish is coming from. You gotta have a good fishmonger.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes all the
Well, he
difference
always
in the world.
tells me. He always,
Yeah.
I go to Bob's and he always tells me. And if it's not good, the fish will say, no, Father, I'm not going to sell that to you.
Yeah.
Which is the kind of fishmonger you want. So let me give these a good wash. And I'll put on the spray.
Father, how often would your grandmother actually make this dish? Was it like a once a year?
Oh yeah, like maybe once or twice a year because it was very difficult.
Mhm.
They didn't have these in food, so we didn't do it in an hour or two. It took all day. But boy, would we wait for that when we were kids. Father Rossi, is that you?
And you got this recipe just by watching your grandmother, right?
That's right. I learned most of my cooking just watching Grandma. And my grandmother was very wise, although she couldn't read or write. And her and her two sisters came to this country. Grandma was 21, Aunt Sadie was 18, and Aunt Julia was 16. And I don't know how those three girls came to this country, but I'll tell you one thing, I thank God every day that they had the courage to leave their home country, their families, their parents, their other brothers and sisters, and come to the new world. As Grandma called it, Il Novo Mondo, the new world. Imagine they were calling that in 1916 when she came on the ship Dante Alighieri. Could I start putting these in?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to slowly dip these in. I'm going to lower it a little bit. These succulent pieces of garlic. Now this will add even more flavor now for real, because now you have the whole fishes. Or as Father Sayer calls them, the fishies. We're going to put the fishies in. Boy, that's a big one. Wow.
It's amazing that you remembered this whole since you were a child. It's
imagine that
unbelievable.
since I'm a child, you know?
'Cause if you try to find this in a restaurant, I've only seen it in one restaurant, and it just opened recently in Philly.
Really?
And I was so shocked that they actually
Did
had it
you
on
try
the-
it though?
I did. It was good, but it was
But
not the
like
same.
us.
They
Not
put a
like
little
us.
cinnamon, I think. It changed the flavor a little bit.
Well, see, oops.
Oh, you okay?
See, that's the, it slipped out of my hand because, you know,
Yeah,
it's dishes. So what about these? We'll put them in.
I put them in a little later. Maybe give them a few more minutes.
These are the shrimp, and we don't take the shells off because the shells adds body and flavor to the torta. So, my good people, thank you for paying such close attention, and God bless all of you, and happy cooking. Ciao, Padre. God bless you. Thank you, Jake, for coming.
Yeah.
Thank
my
you so
pleasure.
much. God bless you.
Thank you, Father, for having me.